All right, welcome to episode number 2 of Competing in Cornfields. Definitely thanks to everybody for your support on episode 1. That was great, and we're going to keep the content coming. First off, big shout out to Johnny Guthlian. Apologize if I butcher your last name. He also has a podcast called Coffee with Demons, and it was also his birthday yesterday. Shout out. He really went out of his way to give me advice on podcasting. And then, that being said, that being said, possibly this one, but definitely the next one is going to be on all platforms, like iTunes, Google Play, or the podcast app, all that kind of stuff. So we'll get it going on. And then a quick shout out to Ray Peterson and Jing Mo Tong of Lincoln, Nebraska. Go see them for Kung Fu, Lion Dance, and all kinds of culture. Check them out on Facebook. I believe they have a big fundraiser going on right now, so go and support them so they can keep their stuff running. We're also brought to you by 360 Fades Barbershop. They are a modern take on a classic barbershop. Not only do they have a great barber for your next cut, they also offer classic shaves. And their video games while you wait, all kinds of cool stuff. Check them out on 48th by Raising Canes. Alright, so now I'm here with Tanner Wonch. Let's go! Let's go! Currently 3-0 as an amateur fighter here in Nebraska, winning his last fight a couple weeks ago and on December 6th. And, thanks for having me over, Tanner.
Yes.
What can you tell us about yourself and your athletic background?
I'm 23. I've been doing athletics since I was about 3 or 4. Started with wrestling. Growing up, I did everything, baseball, football, wrestling, the basic stuff, track. But then about my sophomore year of high school, I just transitioned everything over to wrestling. And I did that through college. I did 2 years, a year and a half of college. I quit halfway through my sophomore year. And I wrestled up in South Dakota at Dakota Westland. There I was the starter at 149 for the year I was there, and then going into that next year. And then I just came into this.
Wesleyan Bros.
Yes, sir.
Nebraska, South Dakota. Let's go.
Let's go.
All right. Well, I understand you have a daughter who's actually been no fighter too. I believe I met her. And so how do you balance your training and work with having the responsibility of being a father?
So I'm in a kind of a different situation. My daughter lives in Minnesota. I met her mom through South Dakota in college there. So she lives in Minnesota for 3 weeks out of the month, and I actually get her for 1 full week every month, so 7 to 9 days. I get those other 21 days or whatever it is, I'm fully training. I had nothing, she's not here. But that 1 week when she is here, I balance the training by just, my mom and dad, they help a lot babysitting. My little brother lives with me, so he does some babysitting for me while I got practice. But otherwise, it's pretty easy. I mean, she's 2, so she kind of can do some things by herself, if
Right.
I had to bring her with a practice. But, she came to my second fight in Omaha, and that was just because that was the first time she'd actually been back in Nebraska for over a year. Because we had a court battle and all that stuff. So she came back, and that was her first weekend back. And my cousin had a wedding, and Paisley was a flower girl in it, so she came back for that weekend. But I don't know if I'll have her come, to many more fights. Not until she's older, just in case,
Yeah,
wild.
Totally understandable. I love hearing that. And before every fight card, I always ask all the fighters, is there anything extra you want on the commentary? That you want all the fans to know. And a lot of times I get the generic, I've been grinding all my life. Or, I'm going to knock him out in the first round finish. And, okay, that's fun, too. And it's fun to say on the mic. But, it's cool to hear, the stuff about the family and whatnot, too. And I believe last time we were in Omaha, we had a fighter who said that his motivation was his son, who was actually fighting for the U.S. Army in Iraq. And he's saying, whenever camp was not cool, whenever cutting weight stunk, I just thought about him and his brothers out there in Iraq. And, he was doing it for his son. And I love that. That's so cool. And, I'd like to hear a lot more of that. And so back to Tanner, like how has competing at a high level in wrestling helped you in MMA?
Just the wrestling grind. Like, you just get through practices. You can get through, the extra morning runs, the extra shit you have to do after practice, or, just anything. The weight cuts, the diets, the sacrificing everything. You just do that with wrestling. Even in high school, you're cutting weight, you're doing all this stuff that people usually aren't always happy with, but, it makes you tough, mentally tough. And my high school coaches, they were tough dudes. They really put us through the ringer every day. It wasn't ever a soft practice. That helps a lot, grinding up practice. 5-6 rounds deep on a Friday night and just getting whooped on, you kind of got to dig deep, so that helps with all that. So.
Well, then not only like the training. The training is like training for a lot of stuff, but the being out there, it's just you versus another person in wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
That's tough.
Yeah.
Like, man, I feel like a lot of people want to give me advice like for wrestling training, whatever. But it's just you and another person, so it's a lot more personal, and also in MMA, there's a lot more severe consequences.
Mm-hmm.
And but bad stuff happens in wrestling too. But yeah, you're right out there in front of everybody to see, just you.
Yeah, and that helps too. Like with doing high school state and bigger tournaments in college and stuff. Like it's just you guys on the center stage. Like so you just get used to people watching. So like when you're at the Pinnacle Bank and you're fighting, you've been there before. You've had experience where people are all cheering for you. So it's. And that just calms your nerves a little bit,
Yeah.
Being that you've been there, done it, so.
Yeah. And a confession, I didn't go to state in wrestling, and I wasn't even good at wrestling until I was decent at wrestling until I showed up at Lincoln Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Center, shout out. But one thing that really helped me in MMA is like they're saying like, oh yeah, 2 guys in the underwear going out there. I competed in bodybuilding as well. And that was less than underwear. So I feel like that maybe helped me a little bit. But, all the same stuff.
Yeah, because you just wear a Speedo out there, don't you?
Yeah, it is small. I still have it. If anybody wants to see me wear one in the next episode, comment below. I'll do it. All right. Anyway. All right, so then, let's see here. We don't have to get into specifics. Your last fight's over. It's all good. But there was some entertaining trash talk leading up to it. Is that something you've done in wrestling or in competition before? Or, like, from what I can see, it doesn't look to bother you to dish it out or receive it.
Yeah. I kind of, I guess, started the whole situation. I was just trying to get at the fight because he's been around, so I just wanted to get my name out there.
Big name.
Yeah,
Big name.
So I figured, take out that guy, then my name's out there. So I kind of called him out on Facebook, and then... then obviously it all kind of just sprouted out from that. And, but yeah, no, I don't know. I've grown up around my friends. We're all doing that our whole lives. And just,
right.
Talking shit to each other and just mess around, so it's not, I knew we were going to fight. So no matter what he said, I knew that night we were going to fight. So nothing really mattered what he was saying. And, it's not something like that I do, that I'm just like, like blah, blah, blah. But I guess in some certain situations, like, depending on the person, it's easier. You can get in his head, mess with him a little bit. And I think that actually played a huge role in me winning that fight. Because I knew I knew it was messing with him mentally that he was getting picked on. So, I don't know.
Yeah. No, I understand that. And that, like, we've obviously seen, like, Conor McGregor, Nate Diaz, and a bunch of fighters get into their opponent's head before the fight, for a little advantage and all that. Is that something, excuse me, you think that you're going to continue to do with your fights, or was that just to get another rung up the ladder? But now that you're like already like, I haven't seen the rankings, but I'd assume that you're up there.
Yeah, I think Tapology had me at 5 or something. So,
yeah.
But no, it's not. I'm not going to be just looking to talk shit. But if somebody, if that happens, I guess it happens. But. Whatever.
Kind of reaction.
Yeah,
or like,
that or if
now it's like more of a reaction.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody does, maybe offend you like personally or something like that, then it's on.
Yeah, either way, if that's their goal, then I guess whatever. But it's the same thing. We're gonna end up getting a fight, so really at the end of the day, it's not going to matter. You know what they say. So.
And like I feel like it didn't seem to bother you either.
No. I told Hanstein and Greg and stuff because leading up to that fight, in that weigh-ins, when I pushed him and shit like that, I told him the next day I was like, I'm gonna go in here calm. Like I know that this was just pissing him off. Like I know I'm not fighting with emotion. So like
yeah.
And so I was just I took it calm because like if you do fight with emotion, you're gonna mess up or you're gonna get knocked out or hurt or something. So I knew I had to go in there calm and just do my thing, I guess.
Yeah, no, man, that makes sense. And so, no, like, you do have a perfect record of 3-0 right now. And in those 3 fights, I mean, I believe you're exposed to a lot of different situations that, speaks way louder than 3 fights, all over the place in the fights. You think so?
Yeah, because that first one, we went all 3. And then that was a grind. And that was, I kind of went, I hadn't trained for... I've been working construction. I went from college to construction, just getting drunk and going out to eat, doing all that. I got fat.
Yeah.
So then I started.
I do know about that.
So I kind of picked up the training again, and let's see, it would have been just about 10 months ago, I'd say, about February, March of this year. So then I had that first fight May 11th. So I really only had 3 weeks or probably 6 weeks of mitts in Patver. I'd never even thrown a punch before, outside of just some bullshit fights or whatever, but like no actual real.
Yeah.
Until then, so I only had so that first fight was kind of just a wrestling match. It felt like, and then I had a long summer of training, and then it went. That second fight really was kind of a screwy deal. I had just that last minute opponent. And then now, so yeah, it was all, and this last one, everything, he kind of came at me quick, so it definitely threw me for a loop. He took me down, and I didn't expect that. Took me down a few times, but yeah,
Yeah, no, that was pretty crazy. Like you said, like your first fight, you went the distance on the feet, and also scored some takedowns, and I feel like that helps out. That helps out a lot with your psyche. It has to because, like, I feel like with myself, like. Okay, no matter how good a shape I'm in, can I last 3 rounds? Am I going to gas out? Am I going to quit? I feel like I'm not going to quit will I gas out.
Yeah.
But now that you've already gone 3 rounds, you'd be like, all right, well, I've already gone 3 rounds, so I can do it again.
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's pretty great. And then, and then in your last fight, you did have to weather the storm. And, a lot of people might have quit or stuck on bottom.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But you were able to stick it out.
I went through, you were around me at camp. I went through it. I made sure every day I was putting myself in, some sort of deep waters or sticky situation just in case. Because I knew this was going to be a fight. Like I said, he's been around. So I, talking to Hanstein and everything, I tried to make sure that I was going to be ready for an early storm. And, that's what happened, so.
Yeah, no, I agree. And, you're a young guy. You said 23.
Yep.
Blasting off 3-0 in MMA. Have you thought about an endgame for fighting? Or, what would you ultimately like to accomplish in MMA?
I'm really trying to do this for a job. I'm trying to make, a livelihood out of this. UFC champ would obviously be the end goal. But, just right now I'm just taking it step by step. I'm trying to get as good as I can, as quick as I can right now, while I'm being able to train as much as I can. I'm trying to do more tournaments of grappling. I want to do boxing fight. I want to do I just want to do some other things just to get expanded in the whole fighting scene, and then hopefully turn pro within the next few years and then do my thing.
Definitely, and I feel like that's the mindset you have to have. I was working out one day, and Tower Robinson, shout out to Tower, was saying, we were actually talking about another fighter, but it actually pertained to me. He was saying, this person doesn't want to be in the UFC. They don't want a big name. They're out on a big stage right now, but they just want to get paid and get out. I feel like you want to have to be, in the UFC, and you want to be a UFC championship. Want to be a UFC champion to, even still compete in MMA. And that's not what I was feeling, and so I was like, maybe it's time I take a break.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, shout out to Tower, but that's the goal that you have to have if
Yeah.
you're in MMA, and I'm sure,
Yeah.
most everybody does.
Because I mean, shit. It's not really a game.
It's not a game.
it's hectic. So I think if you're not fully in, there's no reason to be in it.
Yeah.
If you're there's no reason to keep putting yourself through it. Just because shit can get sour for you. So.
Yeah, no, man. Stuff can get bad. But, yeah, and then another thing is, where do you see yourself in 2020?
I don't know. Like I said, I've only been training for 10 months, and I feel like I've made some pretty drastic changes in this 10 months. I'm getting some wins and doing some good things in practice, I feel like. So, if I keep this up, hopefully I keep my, my undefeated record, maybe get a couple belts. Right now I'm trying to get a fight out of in North Platte with Cam Jordan's kid's name. So I'm trying to get a fight with him. We'll see. There's talk about him maybe going pro or whatever, but and he's got a belt there, so maybe just try to get some of that, get my name out there some more. I definitely want to travel, so that I definitely want to do.
Yeah, man, Cam's got a few belts, so we'll see what's up there with Dynasty and also the MFC. So, yeah, hey, I'm there.
Yes.
Yeah. Myself, I would personally like to go off with a bang in 2020, going undefeated at Omaha Submission Challenge. All submissions. And then I would also like to either be able to purchase one or have a super solid plan on getting a starter house here in Lincoln.
Oh, shit.
That'd be amazing. I would really like to have a house. We have some animals and
own it here in Lincoln.
Maybe not. Yeah, I guess eventually own or make payments on or do something like that.
That's cool.
Yeah, and then back to you. Like, where do you draw inspiration from? Like, the motivation to keep going in sports. I feel like both athletes. There's a difference between athletes and going to the gym. Even if it's at Lincoln Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Center, you have your 3-day-a-week guys who clock out and that's it. Or you have your gotta do cardio, gotta do strength and conditioning guys who are, still in the mix. How do you keep going?
I don't know. I think with our sport, it's not something that you want to half-ass, like when I'm doing it. So that's basically it. During that whole last fight camp, I just kept telling myself, like, shit, like, I don't want to, I don't want anything bad to happen.
Yeah.
I don't want to give myself a reason to not be able to win this fight. So I just, think of the end game. Like, I keep pushing now. Eventually it's going to pay off, do whatever, do the 3 or 4 times practicing a day, 3 times a day for your fight camp, just because, get it in.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess the motivation is just to do good, to be able to, to provide for me and Paisley, to do my, get money, have a career.
Yeah, once again, like your daughter brings you a lot of motivation.
Yeah. So, eventually make money doing all this. So that's probably the biggest motivation, is just being able to provide and, have nice things, do what I want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I mean, me personally, I don't know. I get motivated, and then I have to find different sources of motivation all the time, and so like I'm a little bit of a nerd, and so whenever Disney Plus came out, and I started rewatching Star Wars, and then I was at jiu-jitsu practice one day, and I wasn't feeling it. I didn't exactly want to be there, but it was the adults on one side of the gym, and then the little kids on the other side of the gym. And I looked at them and I was like, those look like little Jedis over there. We all had our gis on, and Jedis basically wear gis, and like different colored belts and stuff like that. I'm like, hold on a second, those are little Jedis, and hold on, and then I was like, wait, we're actually kind of training to be Jedis too.